Cypher utility or the Cypher trips when you're breaking out onto site.
Yeah, that was the kinda ooh I had when we saw, the IGL lock in that fade over the Sova it is really, really dangerous, and so what I'm expecting to see when they are on the attack half is going to be some unconventional routes to getting onto the site, right? Mainly because that's gonna be required. You're gonna have to, abuse market, you're gonna have to abuse top mid, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there because it is going to be the side of Eternal Focus starting out on the defense here, and it looks like we might be getting a treat of that Neon here from the get-go, maybe a fault line setup so that we can see Elro get aggressive, offensive, and fortunately, they are probably gonna find some Predator X Gaming members here, and I cannot wait to see how this first exchange goes.
I'm excited for this. Predator X Gaming, all on this A site attack. Slow down by
Oh.
the aftershock, going to be exchanged in kind, but the double kill is going to be intense. Although, guess what? Win! Also a double kill too. Throw it right back into the face of Eternal Focus, but that has stalled out Predator X Gaming from even wanting to attack this A site for now. The smokes are up, utility has been dropped. Now it's all about pulling away and figuring out what the next step is.
Yeah, it was a nice trap play, but when you have breaches on both sides, you can just as easily get punished back. And that's exactly what happens there. But I like this approach from Eternal Focus. They group up, and now they're going to start re-clearing a lot of this mid space. And I think they heard that bullet right now from A main, so they know now that they can try and wrap around and flank through A. And if that trap wire gets destroyed, you're not going to expect 3 players, maybe one, because the breach stun came from site. Cypher's typically play over towards B. So my question is, how is the response for Predator Gaming going to look here?
It looks like the sides got flipped here, Zobi, if you weren't paying attention. But the good news is we are paying attention and we know exactly what's happening. Finally, the utility's going off. And it's like you said, you aren't expecting all 3 players on that flank. But play together, work with each other, dump in the utility. They probably thought it was just going to be the breach there. But caught inside of your camera, everything's falling apart here. But for Eternal Focus, the plan came together.
And that was just also feeling like a little bit of a miscommunication on the side of Predator X Gaming, notably because nobody was even watching the flank there, right? Which was a little nutty. Um, and that's gonna be what we have to see developing a little bit between these two teams. Is again, you're just getting into a more competitive environment. You're still trying to make that mindset swap between maybe ranked and a team cohesive unit that is required by the tier through 3 and up scenes. So I'll be looking to see maybe some more coordination there, some more responses to when that information is provided. And for now, speaking of information provided, proactive spy cam and this fault line gonna deny Elro the angle with this outlaw, but not for long. Stagger gonna fall, and that's huge, because now you have no breach stun to try and diminish these
Doing it
weapons, and
again.
Elro.
A second one, paranoid inside of the smoke, couldn't see it disappear. And that's where Christopher is eating them alive with that Bulldog. A 3K for them, 2 for Elro. This is looking good for Eternal Focus. No one lost, no weapons given away.
Hmm, very nicely done. I agree. Just the read there, like I mentioned, of all right, you got the pick, you're gonna scare them away from the outlaw, and then what do? They rotate towards mid, and that top mid smoke as soon as it fade, like you mentioned. You had the breach punish beautifully there to shut down and keep things clean for this squad. And I like how kind of the changes are already coming for Eternal Focus, right? You had players putting top mid last round. This round, it's just that trapwire. Including changes is Elro switching over from B main, now over to A main, because they can farm these orbs. They're already almost to an overdrive. So they find this frag on the Cypher and get rid of the B site. They might be able to pop it later to close out this eco round. But for now, a little bit of a stall out here towards B main. Maybe just hoping there isn't an eco play through mid or anything, and that's why you have the breach holding it. So they're just waiting for that proper time, but I don't think it's gonna come, right? You have a stack here from Eternal Focus already brewing.
And still, Elro is poking and prodding out towards A, gets rid of the tripwire, backs off almost immediately to set themselves up for that outlaw shot. Looks like it was going to be close there, but you heard the fact that it not hitting onto anybody. That's going to be tough for them to recover. But they did manage to land a pretty decent beefy shot. So there's only 5 HP here left for Sky. Back away, get over towards safety. See if maybe you can find better opportunities to make that happen. There's the jump peak. Never giving that up. Elro, it's a headshot too on top of that. Regardless of what would have happened there, Sky is gone. So now the rest of the team, you're lost out on your Sentinel. So it's gonna post play is gonna be a little tricky for them, but this is taking Predator X Gaming so long to get onto site that for the most part, Eternal Focus can regroup here. And on top of that, you've also left. Oh, that's scary. Get over to the other side. Elho, they didn't see them on the top. They go back down below. Quick TP over to the other side. Couple of shots from the Outlaws. Not going to be able to land where it quite wanted to go. Christopher's got to put that Bulldog to work. And Lazy Pig's going to do that same exact thing. Actually taking out a Leveler in mid. So they get that nice Vandal. Staggers, waiting, prepped and ready to go with a flashbang. Over on the other side. Blinded, but not able to do anything off the back of that. Get that spike to half. Try to fire at them through the wall. Get in the aftershock. Christopher is just going to hold the defuse. And Lazy Pig cleans them all up with a 3K of their own.
And what a round there for sure. The conversion, the read, the ability to know when to give that side over and play retake with that 2v2 scenario. And it is just unfortunate because I feel like that isn't a default position on the A site. And there just was that uncertainty again from the side of Predator X Gaming that you don't plan out in the open. And unfortunately that leads to what we saw, the stick, even the disrespect of the aftershock, and there's that 3-0 from Eternal Focus. And I mean, I talked about the overdrive, they're not even gonna need it because now weapons online, and it's Predator X Gaming with an eco round.
Yeah, a little haunt right to their feet too. But the rest of the team trying to get control of mid as best they can, but I mean, you're operating with mostly Sheriffs, and Win is the lone stinker buyer. Everyone's going to want to push through that mid, but you got to go through the tripwire. Then you have, on top of that, Lazy Pig, who's sitting at 4-0, watching that on the high ground. So if you're going to try and fight against them, you need to do it together as a team. Lazy Pig grabs the frag and gets out with 40 HP to their name. They didn't really lose anything to make that happen either.
I mean, they did take the fight together. They were just all, stunned by a fault line. So the trade ability there, a little bit neutralized, and I love the bounce back. The re-clears now happening both in A main and through mid with that haunt. So now they've reclaimed all the space that was sacrificed by that fight into top mid. And Elbro with their own action with Outlaw, confident with their push out. And that is now 2 out of 4 rounds, I believe, flawlessly done by Eternal Focus.
It's nothing unexpected, though, coming out of a pistol round here or an eco round, rather, for Predator X Gaming, but you expect them to be able to take something there. And this is where we're starting to understand some of that team cohesion that's not quite working that we're getting from Eternal Focus, right? That fault line was placed perfectly to help bail out Lazy Pig, prevent them from dying, and then you have Elro pushing up through their flank with an operator of all things, right? You don't get that very often. And the confidence is at a maximum right now, Zobi, because they held that angle with an operator.
Oh, for sure. And the confidence from that was the fact that the haunt mid saw nothing. So they're either A main, where you just got frags, right? If you were that double force clearing out elbow, or they're tiles. And that's what Elro was trying to close down, was tiles. Speaking of closing down, though, this B split has quickly been closed out here. Already half of the execute being tucked away. And yes, this paranoia is going to force Christopher back, but the timing and the trade should be good for Elro. And unfortunately, a whiff shot means that they might be able to claim the B-side, but the IGL is here to stop that prospect when in the 1v3 clutch, trying to find Elro because they know they're low HP, but 5 bullets left. No opportunities being given over by Lazy Pig or Elro here. They want to give that glory to the IGL, to the fade violence, and with full HP, it feels like it would go Eternal Focus's way. The dark cover just delaying the inevitable. I mean, spikes on site. There is a nightfall, but there's 40 seconds left. Wen has to make a decision.
That decision is really starting to work against them right now. Okay, here comes out another Prowler. They know Elho's on the other side, but I mean, again, you're firing on all cylinders if you're Eternal Focus. You have not given up a single round to Predator X Gaming, and it doesn't feel like they're going to be giving anything up any time soon, especially not with the buy that Predator X Gaming has to make.
And finally, we're going to be getting into a round where some ultimates online, but there's a desync on the side of Predator X Gaming between the ultimates coming online, like this nightfall and the buy to match it. Because after you're going down 5-0, this is when you contemplate taking a timeout, because it is going to be a little bit rough around the edges, versus if things start to get dicey on this eco round, then Eternal Focus, EF have an out. They can just pop that if they need to. For example, Elros, right? they're stunned up here. If they needed to, they could pop the Nightfall. Granted, they don't need to because there's no punishment coming from this utility usage of PXG. But speaking of punishment, like I said, you never know where the operator is lurking. So you got to expend utility to clear out these angles, to clear out these spaces. But now that they know the operator's not on the B site, it is going to be full green light go here. But green lights quickly turn when there's a Nightfall. Oh, no, you're going to wait for the plant to secure, make sure it's not a fake. Or you can understand this should be an eco round.
Yeah, no, it's also the idea, too, that you use that Nightfall, but no one, again, is there really to help you. And Christopher only has 44 HP, so couldn't get back in to take that fight. There it is. Rest of the team is here. Out goes the Nightfall. Team is struggling a little bit to secure some of these kills. Eldo had so many targets in front of the target acquisition. Took a little bit of time to get there, but eventually it did. That is going to be Eternal Focus securing the first half. But also, 6-0 now. It's a half that could still easily keep going their way.
I mean, now they have 4 ultimates online. And I'm just shocked that fault line in the Boba didn't hit either player for Predator X Gaming, which allowed that Stinger Spectre combo to at least draw a little bit of blood on the Eternal Focus side. But just the close out there, the paranoia is beautiful to bail out, to set up that teammate that's coming out of market to get the wraparound, to get the timing. It would have been unfortunate for sure if they died, you know, to Justinson with that deagle that was sitting there crouched below the boxes. But once they get that frag, it was smooth sailing from there. Now, as you mentioned 6-0, it's been anything but smooth. The rough waters gonna engulf and drown the side of Predator X Gaming on their map pick. Already first blood drawn, and not just first blood, but it's onto the duelist.
Oh, poor Elro. You can tell that they were wanting to move past their teammate, but just a little bit of a body block. This doesn't really matter. Now, in mid, we're going to try and see that readjustment from Predator X Gaming, but again, it's all manners of slow going because you never really know what's here. And Elho is making so much noise because they just don't care. Caught out here by the trap wire, having to know that they're on the other side, and Sky, if there was any hope of maybe lurking through this way, their hand has been tipped.
And I mean, I don't think they wanted to. They just wanted to destroy that trap wire, and unfortunately that didn't happen, so that security's still going to be here. But what it has done is draw the rotation from Eternal Focus, right? The Neon now posted up with the operator, and they trust them. So what do they have? They have the heavy retake agents like the Fade, like the Breach, now holding top mid and ready to rotate to B site on a dime. But look at this, another top mid fight. This time they remedied the mistakes of last time. They cut off one side of the sandwich, they get that dark cover out towards A, and the direct swing, the double challenge of Christopher and their teammate is flawless. And Red, the anchor on the B site, the anchor in Boba, has been really, really clean. In the meantime, Justinson was able to scale up off the Shrouded Step into the B site, but they don't have Spike. It's in enemy territory. It's surrounded by 4 players, and there's an operator behind you. Oh, poor Justin.
These are not ideal situations, but at the very least, you walk away with something. Zoe, it's not much, but it's not an Eternal Focus flawless again. So 7-0, the Eternal Focus train just has no brakes.
Oh, for sure. At this point, you gotta pull the emergency brake, right? If you are the side of Predator X Gaming. And I don't know if that would be a timeout or if it's gonna be, you know, let the ultimates fly, let the chaos ensue. But this is your map pick, and it was a good map for you. Like I said, they were 2-1 in Summertime Slugfest on this map. Granted, one of their core players, Casual, is busy tonight and is subbed out, and they also don't have a 5th man yet. But still, I mean, that shows they might have to go back to the drawing board on the composition, on some of the set plays, the protocols. But then again, they don't have a coach yet, so those things might not even exist yet for this squad. They're still in the early development phase, while the Luxe series is already in full swing, and clearly Eternal Focus is already in full swing.
Focus that is Eternal. Now, Elro, not seeing too many signs of life. Maybe a little bit more far forward than they wanted to be. They definitely did see signs of life. They're sitting at half HP. Because of that fault line, it's going to force them out even further. And so the footsteps being heard that they are away. This is the kind of action that Neons just love to see. That's brilliant recognition from Justice, and to know that Elro is going to be there with that operator. This Neon has been a thorn in the side of this team for far too long. Now that it's been removed, a bit of an easier time to get towards that site. But there's still 2 players left there. Blinded out by the flashbang. You know that Breach is on the other side. Give it up for Justin. He's putting in the work. He's putting in the time. He's putting in the effort. Followed up with a Nightfall to make sure that you can actually get in onto the site and win out in the best chance that you have for this round. A 2v5 once the spike is planted, even more so.
And that was the newest member of the Stellar sub for this squad as well. Putting up the work And Elro, again, like, they should have been able to get away with that shot, right? No utility used to clear them out, but this time they're aware of the possibility, like you mentioned, Sam, and they deal with it effectively. A 2v4, most of those big-ticket retake ultimates offline. The best you could hope for would be some kind of information to isolate these 1v1s. But speaking of isolation, the Paranoia goes in to try and facilitate Red on this retake, but unfortunately, 1-for-1 trades are not going to work when you're in a 2v4. What could work, though? The low HP here on the Stagger, but the swing into Wen, and Wen is another player so far that has been putting up some nice multi-kills, and there it is. Predator X Gaming getting their first round on the board.
Yeah, Justin's in really opening up a can of worms onto Eternal Focus. Maybe just his team needed a little bit of time to get the wheels greased, get everything moving along, and figuring out how Eternal Focus is liking to play, right? Like you said, Zobi, they don't have that coach, and so things take a little bit more time to formulate those plans, formulate those strategies, and get the ball rolling for themselves. Hopefully, this is the first of many that they can string together. Otherwise, this is Eternal Focus's game still far and away.
So far, there's that operator raining out. And this time it was a lurk player, so they're going to have the information about where the operator is, and they are going to rotate off of it. Go back towards this A site where Spike was at the round start. And I like this breach setup, right? Playing from tiles, so that hopefully the Rays can satchel in off of the concuss. And yeah, the IGL's caught off guard and dealt with the counter from Christopher coming in too late. Not enough to spare their teammate. And I'm surprised that the acceleration isn't faster here from Predator X Gaming.
I'm also
now,
liking...
Yeah, go.
Well, I was going to say, because Predator X Gaming is starting to realize, and they're starting to catch on to the fact that someone from Eternal Focus loves pushing out. And even more so, right, they realize that, again, over on B main. The trip was there. It may have been taken out, but they're not falling. Sky isn't falling for that trap just yet, right? And they're still in mid. They're still waiting for that lurk, but they need to make sure to get the timing right here with the rest of the team pushing in. Here's the showstopper. Popped. Did it hit? It did! Right, direct on target. But all eyes need to be on Sky. Here comes the Rolling Thunder too. Staggering them out just long enough. Sky is doing the world's work here for Predator X Gaming. That lurk coming to fruition. And the rest of the team doing the job. Finally, it looks like for Predator X Gaming, seeing their way through the dark and the night.
And for me, what I want to point out there was, yes, you pointed out that you liked it personally because then they were dealing with these odd liar factors, but the odd liar factors didn't determine the fate of that round, right? And it's more the issue that there were 4 players ready to flood back in for the side of Eternal Focus there, right? So they didn't have those ultimates to scare them back to keep them at bay. I think we would have had a head-on collision there on the site. So I want to see either then more proactivity from the Cypher on the side of PXG, or I want to see them, yeah, like I said, once you get that advantage, lock it in. But either way, it's a great round. Like you said, they're starting to catch their footing here, especially when it's much needed so they can avoid, you know, a 10-2, a 9-3. But, you know, some habits die hard, and that is the dry swing in to the operator, Elro. Opening things back, getting back on track with these shots to continue the dominance that Eternal Focus has shown so far. We'll get to see what PXG does, because this time, right, you've lost your smokes.
Yeah, you've lost your smokes, and also we're getting a bit more of that adjustment from Eternal Focus, right? No one being sent out on those crazy expeditionary jaunts or being super in the face of Predator X Gaming, trying to take space that they don't need to or risk any more of those numbers. Instead, relying on Elro to grab those pickoffs with the operator. So now they are moving all around inside of market, forced to back away to find better angles and better positions with that operator. Their shot didn't hit, but Elho's, they do connect. Not blinded by that flashbang, Elro is firing away with that operator and looking very deadly with it in their hands. With the spike planted, it's still good news here, and that's even better news with Win eliminating Elro. But now, Neural Theft is going to figure out where exactly everyone is on the side of Predator X Gaming. They need to play this so carefully. They want to go through the rest of this alive, but now it's just not meant to be. Eternal Focus, a couple of rounds lost, but now they're back in it.
And if I had to call, you know, in my mind, the MVPs of this match right now, it's been both of the Fades, right? Their ability to hold their own. You don't normally see a Fade, right, being that aggressive A main player, and that's what L is doing for Eternal Focus. And then also Win's been the one trying to be the difference maker, trying to clutch out these rounds that start off with a disadvantage for Predator X Gaming. And I mean, just look at the utility from that round, right? The Siege was beautiful from Wen to get the frag onto Elro to shut down, like you said, that dominant operator. And then also, right, after the neural theft reveals the players, it's the Siege from Elro on the retake to isolate and ensure that the Cypher cannot help out Wen backside. So it isolates beautifully and allows them to facilitate each of their individual goals in these rounds. But just the coordination right now for Eternal Focus, the ability to keep players alive and consistently innovate is showing superior. And look at this again, the speed of the Neon on the rotations, and now they're gonna post up with the operator again. Someone break the spot for them, please.
They don't even care about it. They're having all of the utility dumped on top of them. They're able to get away again, right? Power of the Neon. They're putting up the fast lane, but it's really just to try and trick them out. Oh no! Alho in the middle of setting up the Nightfall, caught completely off guard. The Wuffler is adjusting deadly and everywhere on this side all at once, it felt like. But a 3K for them has punched a hole right into the minds of Eternal Focus, and any hope, any semblance of putting things back together needs to happen now with that pickoff from Red. But it's still a lot that they have to chew through, but for somehow, some way, Eternal Focus is chewing. A Leveler, couple of bullets through the smoke, 89 HP, they're looking pretty decent. They also have a paint shell, but they just got to make something happen here for Eternal Focus, and that is leading right into the waiting arms of Predator X Gaming.
And I love that we finally got to see Alu come online towards the latter side of this half, right? You want to see those entry frags from your duelists, and if those can get online, then we might get to see a game, I'll say, on our hands when we switch sides here. And the ability there, right, to keep those players fragmented, and I think also we saw some delay utility at backside, so they couldn't swing off the paranoia from Lazy Pig, so there wasn't coordination then from the Cypher. But look at this again. Once we see a round lost from Eternal Focus, they changed the plan. And the plan this time looks to be the 3-stack, about to get aggressive out of B main once they confirm these players. And there it is, overdrive, flashpoint lands, but so does the counter. The troops rallying behind the stagger, and when the, reactive utility a little bit too late again from Christopher.
So brilliant from Predator X Gaming. Figure out the different ways that they like to play. Leveler not quite able to get away from Christopher, who is insane with that Bulldog, by the way. Multiple kills from them tonight with that one weapon alone. But now we're seeing a very similar sight here, right? Both Red and Lazy Pig are the last ones alive for Eternal Focus, but now this just gets more and more difficult when you're hit with a Nightfall, when you're paranoid out. But this is looking a lot better for them this go around. Lazy Pig has just turned the tables completely around in their face, and now it comes down to the 1v1 to determine the fate of the first half, and Red's fate is in their own hand. Eternal Focus 9-3 in this first half.
And I feel like the last month, Sam, I've had the curse of 9 threes in my cast. Not that they've been coming true or not, but that they have been locked in by one of the two teams. And that's what Eternal Focus is able to accomplish here. And like you mentioned, it was a similar scenario, right? Another 2v4 retake with Red and Lazy Pig online. But the difference there was Lazy Pig, number one, hitting their shots. And also, too, I think, like I said, that utility that was online and utilized by PXG to ensure they couldn't swing together wasn't there that time. So, and there also was just kind of giving ones to Lazy Pig, so there was no tradability as well. But again, one after another, the dominoes fall. Lazy Pig gets a clip, and there's the 9-3 half. Bada bing, bada boom.
Bada bing, bada boom.
Bada boom.
It's a good half, though. If you're Eternal Focusing, you're definitely not going to complain about what you're able to accomplish. But I think for Predator X Gaming, right, you're also able to do something for your own selves. And now you get to see how things are going to work when you're really trying to fight against this Eternal Focus Neon. There's really no way for them to break through the Cypher trips other than by just shooting them. So it's going to be difficult for this team to break out onto the B site. Seeing that pushing in through mid. Oh, but Win! Elro was sliding too. They wanted to go for the action shot. They wanted to get the clip. They wanted to make it look cool. By God, does it ever. But is Sky ready for the one player that was left behind? Christopher right there on the rotate, making sure no one's gonna be there. Oh my God. It took a little bit of time. Christopher eventually did get it. Thankfully, Sky is gonna bring them trade out for their teammate. But it's still this 3v4 with a spike planted, and a retake is gonna have to happen in a pretty difficult way. Meanwhile, on the flank, it's just about getting in their face. And this is what's so difficult right now when you're going up against Eternal Focus. They're not missing any of these shots, it feels like. They are deadly. They are locked in.
And there's two things I want to point out there. Number one, look at how we were able to see Eternal Focus deny that top mid take last half, right? A beautiful fault line, the teammates swing off of that. That fault line came out late, and that's what you said. Albert was able to get that nasty clip on to win. And then as soon as they like acknowledge that there's 2 players there, that's when they group up, and the stack goes immediately thrilling for Eternal Focus. They don't even let them seize that retake that you said could have been their calling card back into the round. And then immediately after that, what do you have? You have the IGL, like, wait, they have the Omen as the last alive, they have a shrouded step potentially, they can get past that tripwire on the flank, and they hold that angle. And that is how they close out the round cleanly, showing how in-depth they're considering each part of this round. But at the better weapons in hands, we need to see a disruption, we need to see a Thrifty at this point.
I'll find you.
Get the heroes turning for the side of Predator X Gaming, or they might become the prey on their own map pick. There it is. The early rotation. I mean, yes, you're on Nico. Yes, you want to gamble, but it's going to be incorrectly called. And there it is. The alarm bell's ringing. We got to get back over to A, but it's too late. Red has already scaled up so far. And as long as they win that duel, they're going to keep control and keep terraforming this A site for the plant.
Yeah, that was going to be so difficult for PXG in this round, even with that gamble stack that they were on, even if it had worked out for them in the way that they were hoping. But now it's going to become near impossible for them to really be able to fight back against this site, especially with how we know Eternal Focus likes to play. See, they just get in there. They know that they got the tether. They know they have no HP. And Red is just wanting to add insult to injury. Ran out of ammo on the Stinger. Guess what? I still have the Ghost.
And what a round again. That's the second flawless second round they've had, right? It happened in the first half as well once weapons were in hand. And again, I go back to my MVPs being the Fates for this map. That tether, like you mentioned, I would never take a long range duel with the Spectre against a Deagle on an eco round. But once you have a tether in the equation, I'm swinging that 9 out of 10 times and hopefully winning when that vulnerability has set in. And that's exactly what the team locks in onto for Eternal Focus, and locks in now. The weapons carried over, an opportunity to convert this next round to shut out any momentum from PXG on their map pick. Let's see if they can do just that, especially off Elro, who has this Hero Vandal, and they've gotten the damage onto Sky. They're disrespecting the Cypher utility, and when they had no way of destroying it, what do? They just find and murder the Sky, the Cypher.
Yeah, and that's rough for a Sky too, being the only person on this B side. The rest of the team was in mid, and now they're gonna have to try and run through mid. Win! You didn't have anything out. Thankfully, though, you do get rid of Red, so that's one less man to worry about. But man, you still have... Okay, that's
Stagger?
What we needed. Stagger needed to make that happen for Predator X Gaming.
Was it smoked off, or did that through the smoke? I don't know.
Had to have been through the smoke, right? Paranoid, and you're just running, you're jumping, you're trying to throw off the aim. But Stagger is firing back. This is Predator X Gaming denying the bonus round. But it's still tepid waters that they're in, right? This is still shark-infested waters. They had to be so careful going into these next few rounds.
Yeah, they have learned how to swim. Now they have to learn how to evade and escape the shark at this point. And ensure they don't bleed in the progress, because I feel like one drop of blood and you're suddenly going to get devoured, because it is, like you mentioned, no room for error. It'll be map point for Eternal Focus on PXG's map pick. But like I mentioned, like some of these players are starting to come online. Alu at the end of the last half, Stagger now at that 3K. Sometimes all you need is a little confidence to get that boulder rolling down the hill. And I mean, even this map can be that boulder, right? And then once we get over to map 2 of Ascent, maybe this was their warm-up game. Maybe we are going to see Lotus, and that all assumes that we don't see a comeback here. 7 more rounds to tie us up. They still have that lifeline, and they still have some confidence to go aggressive here towards A main off this paint shell. Ooh.
How crazy do they want to get with it, right? How do they want to try and take the Eternal Focus playbook? And look how many players are stacked up here as well. That is what we wanted to see. Grab the first blood if you're a leveler, get rid of Christopher, and now without that breach, Focus's options are not impossible, but it does make things a little bit more limited when they're trying to rush onto the actual site itself. So a lot of noise being made, but also a lot of room being taken by Red, and Red just gave the all clear signal. Get back over here, guys. Let's try and push it on B. Unfortunately for Red, they couldn't go too much further than Boba, taken out by Sky, but this is still a site for Eternal Focus to play with.
This is a stark change. And they have the Nightfall online as well here, so if they can read
Spike
into the group
planted.
up, they might be able to pop it. And I love Elro, the tip of the spear here equates things back to a 3-on-3 with Alu as low HP. That's going to be a dull spear to get back into the site. And now that they have an advantage, they say, we don't need to be proactive anymore. We don't need to play aggressive. Follow off site, we now assume a standard post plant. We can Nightfall as soon as the spike tap comes through. We might have some Fade utility to give us an advantage. And there it all comes. The elevated position from Lazy Pig over the dark cover. The last thing they expect, and it's Alu left with the 1 HP because of the decay in a 1v3.
Decayed, deafened, can't hear anything.
Oh.
Couldn't even hear the neon running at Mach speeds into their face. Elro gets that final kill. May have just put the final nail in the coffin for Predator X Gaming on Sunset.
Yeah, I mean, now you have to force every round, and fortunately, since they were able to win that third round conversion, I think they have a decent buy going into this round, but there still is going to be some patchwork buy to it. You have 2 Stingers, and you have a Guardian. So Alu, again, eyes on them, right? They are 1 off from the showstopper. They have a Hero Rifle alongside Justin. Stagger, you know, is 2 off as well from that breach ult from that Rolling Thunder, so there's hope here. But that hope can get dashed by 1 wrong move. Again, 1 fragging round from Elro.
Yeah, 1 fragging round. And speaking of 1 fragging round, they may just go ahead and get away with it here. This is easy pick'ems of this site. They're gonna completely give it up and play for the retake. The worst idea in the world, especially again, considering the buy that they've had. You're gonna see what the strategy and what the plan is gonna have to do. You have most of your team inside of market. Okay, give it a second here. You're just banking on that. A leveler was able to get over to the showstopper. Just a few more players to get rid of. This Raze is tearing them all apart. Piece by bloody piece. A 4K and an opportunity here for Predator X Gaming to still keep their names on Sunset.
What a 4-piece again when things are looking grim, like the end of half or the proximity of you losing your map peg. Alu is stepping up. I said it, to get a frag, get an orb. That showstopper's online for the retake, and they use it beautifully. They take out the little post plant utility that exists in the composition for Eternal Focus, and that is the kind of firepower we want to see. But look at what we might be shaping up for here. Elro probably gonna try and get ahead of this trap play over towards A main, and this could be the decider. Alu. Now let's get the paint shell, and this has been their kind of protocol. But I want to see what the response is going to look like, especially when there's an overdrive and a stun coming in, but it doesn't work. And look at how low 1 is as well.
Yeah, they had to get out of there, right? They didn't want to
You're gonna
sacrifice
stick
themselves,
around?
but you stuck Alu alone. And even worse, Elro was able to pick up that Vandal that was left behind. No one to stop them, and Reds lurk up through mid. Justin knew that this Cypher was going to try and do something like that, but they weren't quite ready to take that fight just yet. You have Win sitting at 7 HP, and really just 2 other players. I mean, you have a Cypher ult, but there's no one that's fallen from Eternal Focus. A spike is going to be planted, and Red's just picking them all off. Mid is their domain. Mid is their territory. And so now 2 is Sunset. Eternal Focus, 13-5.
And Red, their aim there was so clean. They're like, Alu, you get a 4K? I can do the same without the fireworks. Just a little bit of information. And while you guys are rotating off of A, Ruby also kind of desecrated your pop play setup and got rid of that Star Duelist for your squad. I mean, I gotta point out 2 things, right? Because Red top of the leaderboard, but Elro also had 7 first bloods. I was promised a Yarn main, but I see a Neon main right in front of me. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, it's someone who feels more confident on, I would guess, Yoru, but forced to play Neon in respects to Sunset. And I mean, they did it perfectly, right? And we were worried the fact that this team didn't have a trip break in the form of Sova or Raze or something like that to fight against the Cypher utility. But I guess there really was no cause for concern. I mean, you just use the aftershock of all things. That's how confident Eternal Focus was. Use Breach utility, get rid of it, and we could just run in there and not even worry about that. And throughout the rest of this, throughout the entire series, we were just seeing that over and over again. This team was ready to take fights because they know that they can, because they've been through so many of these different events. And this is where we're starting to see that experience start to shine through. But that's also where I'm interested in Predator X Gaming, right? This is week 1 of Luxe series. There's still so many different ways that this team can improve and build upon themselves, and especially right if they're able to get that coach. But now going into Ascent, hopefully they're able to pick up and build onto some more plans of their own.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, we can't see, right, what happens or what we can't be in the room where it happens, the server where the scrims occur for the side of Predator X Gaming. But just from what we saw on Sunset, it feels like the calling, the set plays were a lot cleaner on the side of Eternal Focus. And yes, there are still some things to clean up because they also are a newer squad in the tier 3 scene, like some breach util mistimings that weren't able to bail out Elhu or Elro. I think I'm seeing the shippings of a really strong squad, and also, right, they're the only one with a coach in the server. And if I remember right, I think it's testy, and they are experienced as well. So that's impressive here as well, and I think that's what's causing them to have this early found success and such a dominant scoreline as a 13-5. And as I mentioned before, Elra with 7 first bloods that you can't see on the screen also is going to help out with that a lot.
Oh yeah. But hey, give it up here for Red, that match MVP at 333 ACS, a
Ooh,
Cypher who is fragging their mind out. We don't get to see it very often, but when we do, it is a very glorious sight. Again, though, looking over at the other side, you were talking a little bit earlier in the broadcast about the impact that these fades have been having, which is
mm-hmm.
something that we haven't got to see lately, right? Fade on Sunset. Typically, it's that Breach Gecko
Sova.
that's being run, or Breach Sova, or Gecko Sova, one of those combinations. So to get Fade and seeing her being played on Sunset was a really nice treat. And a reminder, too, of how powerful this agent can be, especially on a smaller map like that, and how impactful these Nightfalls have lended themselves to these teams. But we are going to go off into a short break. But don't go anywhere, because when we come back, we find out if Eternal Focus has it in them to close out this series, or if Predator X Gaming has a trick up their sleeve to take us to map number 3 of Lotus.
Hey, what the hell? Why you hanging on the rooftop by yourself? I have an open invitation, but you're telling me go get lost. I don't wanna see your face. Yeah, what the hell? So why don't we stay out till the morning light? Cause two wrongs can make a right. We're just doing what we feeling right now. Some Chardonnay, we camp in the parking lot. Leave traces of plastic cups. We're just doing what we feeling right now. So what the hell? Why you hanging on the rooftop by yourself?
And welcome back, everyone. If you missed it, Eternal Focus just took Sunset 13-5 against Predator X Gaming. Now we move on to Ascent, where they're looking to close out the series 2-0. My name is Sam Tonks. Joining me is Zobi. Now, Zobi, we were looking at some happenings going on in us from these teams happening in Ascent. We noticed some interesting things going on.
Oh, for sure, right? We saw this explosive Neon, this explosive duel set of Eternal Focus Elro, but with all the duelisting that they do not like to use Jet as their weapon, which is kind of the go-to for Ascent, it feels like. So we may see them stray into an unconventional composition where we could see an ISO paired with a Deadlock. The MVP of that match was Red, and they are the player that the last time they played on Ascent, which granted was a loss in Summertime Slugfest 5, that's the composition they ran. That alongside then your typical Ascent, composition of Sova, KJ, and Omen. But we haven't seen Ascent out of the side of Predator X Gaming recently, so who knows if they also are not going to go for that standard composition of Ascent.
We'll see. I mean, that's kind of the question that's going to be on our mind if they do decide to go against that. How are they going to go against it, or do they want to play it
Mm.
safe and play what has been tried and true and what they know will work on Ascent? I think the interesting conversation topic, though, is Eternal Focus going to come out blasting with that composition? Are we going to see that ISO yet again, right? I think we were talking about it. That may have been during the time period of when ISO was super buff, but the Agent Select is going to tell us everything that we need to know about the mindset between these two teams and how they want to go about approaching it. But from what I'm understanding, we don't have to worry about seeing no stinking Jet for Eternal Focus. That's too boring for them.
Ooh, we might not see the ISO either. Look, Elro hovering the raise. And it's impressive, right, that they are an Opera as well, but don't need the Jet in order to get the job done here. But we do see the red Deadlock, which I'm excited for because I feel like that only enables you to take duels more than a Cypher can, especially with an Annihilation. The clutch factor is only going to be elevated. And you talked about confidence. I think they are going to come out swinging, regardless of the fact that they're on the attack, just because of the confidence to pick this as their map pick. And then also the 13 fight that we just saw, right, over on Sunset gives them no reason not to. But other than that, if we do have Justin lock in the Clove, that could be a reason not to, right? You pop and not dead yet, and suddenly you are halted, right? Get out of dodge. Don't let the Immortal come back to life, but Justin doesn't lock that in. They go for one of the meta composition variants. No killjoy here. It's Sky again back on that Cypher.
And hopefully Sky's going to be given a little bit more support than what we saw out of Sunset. Even Eternal Focus didn't rely entirely on Cypher holding something down by themselves. It was at the very least a teammate close by, or they were going off on doing something by themselves, which is what you want out of your Sentinel. But the idea that we're getting out of here, I think from the at least Eternal Focus side of things with that Deadlock, right, is just stop the push and play for them going onto side, playing off your sonic sensors, obviously. The interesting thing to note, if the way that Predator X Gaming on their lurk want to try and go up against them, right, kind of the shortcomings of Deadlock, the way that Eternal Focus plays, I don't think they're gonna have to worry too much about their flank very often on Ascent.
I mean, they don't have to worry about the flank, right? They pair the
They're gonna have
Deadlock with a
KJ.
Killjoy.
Yeah, they got the
So you're just
KJ.
gonna put a turret up there, and that's gonna be the normal business. What's gonna be nightmarish for this red Deadlock pick is if they get on to the site, right? Because then you put the sonic sensors up, and then it becomes 10 times harder to retake against. And we do have a little bit of tech pause. Obviously, Elro, your star duelist, has got to get reconnected into the game before you jump into an attack half of all things. We got a little summoning ritual in spawn as well to get them back. Red's like, I need you, my secondary fragger, alongside me from the last map. And I am curious because, as we mentioned, Lazy Pick was doing really, really well with, I feel like, the Omen kit over on Sunset. So now that's being relinquished to Christopher, who I mentioned maybe didn't feel as confident on the timings on the breach, and this could be why. Maybe they are more comfortable on the Omen on the controller. So we'll have to see which kind of puzzle has a clearer picture once we get into the action.
Big thing noting though for Eternal Focus as well with that double sentinel, right? You don't have KO, so you're relying a lot on the Omen paranoia to try and fill in that gaps as much as you possibly can. Right, it's not the end of the world. You don't have KO, and I think from what we've seen from Eternal Focus, that doesn't really concern them too much. They're really hoping to be able to break onto site fast, and I think that's also why we're getting that raise, is for Elro to get in there quick, just overwhelm them with the numbers, and especially what we saw out of Sunset. I'm sure that's going to be in the playbook for Eternal Focus. Just keep that pressure up and up and up and up, get deadlock on site, cut off angles with her wall, and then place down all of the sonic sensors, pay for the post plant with KJ utility. And that's also where we're going to see some of the interesting wrinkles, I think, especially if you're Sky. They're going to have to be so judicious with that placement of the tripwire because, I mean, Elro is going to be able to jump over it, right? They're going to be able to satchel right and sail past it so fast. And depending on where they play, Sky's just going to have to be that extra bit more careful. They don't want to be caught off guard, don't want to give up the site so easily either, like what was happening on Sunset.
I mean, not only that, right? But just the paint shell in itself can destroy a lot of those trap wires. And I think what you pointed out, I think in Agent Select when we saw the Cypher for Sky again, was we really expected Sky to be this kind of strong Cypher player because that was going to be the really difficult part for Sunset for Eternal Focus, was the inability to get past the Cypher and their utility without a Sova, without a raise. But there wasn't that utility to begin with on the B side, and that was a huge cause for concern with me because I feel like Cypher and their ability to punish off their utility is what makes them a good Sentinel pick. So if you're playing passively, like Sky actually is, I know we're on our beautiful faces, but they have all of their utility on the A site right now, but they're playing from tree. And so, yes, I think it's a little bit different on Ascent because you can still get a frag through the smoke tree if that trap wire comes through, but like you mentioned, I don't know if we're going to see that because of how fast a raised satchel can scale up. But other than that, again, we're all just speculation, and I am excited, right? I think you hit the nail on the head. That KO is going to be the crux of this counter for the side of Predator X Gaming. Stagger was insane on the counters with the breach utility over on Sunset, and now I think they're going to be fundamental to, like we said, dismantling how strong of a post plant we're going to see from Eternal Focus, right? They had no problems getting onto sites, it felt like, over on Sunset. It was really the retakes where there were times that I feel like Predator X Gaming was able to get those 2 rounds on the board. And now with the double Sentinel, it makes it a little bit harder. So it just feels like the final boss has gotten more powerful.
Yeah, they got an upgrade. They got to level up. Still working our way through this tech pause, though. I'm just pausing here for a second, looking at everything that's going on. But yeah, we're just going through, I think, a PC reset right now. Maybe having some, I don't know. Elro's just like, I got to make sure I'm locked in. I don't want to go on to map number 3. I don't want to do Lotus. I don't blame him. Lotus is about to be out of here anyways, though. But um, yeah, yeah. I think what we're gonna do for right now, though, everyone, is that we're gonna send things over to a small break, let Elro get a chance to get back in, and we'll be right back.
Always waiting for the one, but I got news for you. I'm the best that you can get, so what the hell? Yeah, what the hell? So what the hell? So what the hell? What are you waiting for now? And what the hell? You're pretending that
All right, thank you all so much for being patient with us, but we are about to get back into game. We're about to unpause. The timer is ticking down. It is map number 2 of Ascent. A total focus on attack. Predator X Gaming defending against them. Gonna try and gather some early information off the back of that knife, but nothing to be given because total focus all throughout mid. And this is kind of calling back to how they played on Sunset, right? They wanted to go through mid and they just play together so aggressively, but that is huge from A-Love, and that is even better from Win. Another pick off there. The numbers are looking so favorable towards Eternal Focus that it just continues going up and up and up. A 2v1 to determine the fate of round number 1.
Lazy Pig left the Deagle. Sky, the jumping for info, confirms their position. I think you can see the beanie from there. And with Spike down on the staircase, Alu's going to be able to defend that with their life. Alu, again, like we said, if they are online, it shows for Predator X Gaming. And there wasn't really much utility there mid either, and I liked to play the net paranoia combination. It really was just Alu getting that information, getting the pick on the Sova as well, so you don't maybe have some shock darts, you don't have that kind of later impact of Soviet utility to help you guide where these players were over towards the B site when that crunch through market ensues. So for the first time in the first pistol going in favor of Predator X Gaming, they got weapons online. They have a chance to expand this lead.
Quick one way down on the ground. Elro running into the
DC?
wall. That doesn't look
the
good.
DC again? Oh, they look back. They look back.
They're back. They're back. Maybe that was just.
They're too used to the Yoru that I said.
Yeah,
that was the Yoru clone.
They thought they were playing Yoru, wanted to go for the Yoru clone, but Stagger's not playing any games right now. They are locked in, they're ready to go. They may be locked down by a net, but they're still fighting. They're still unstoppable, it feels like, until a paint shell lands right at their feet. A 1v2, Lazy Pig all the way on the other side of the map. They gotta go pick up the spike. They gotta win a 1v2, and Predator X Gaming is trying to figure out where this KJ is. They didn't see anything from the recon bolt, but once this happens right here, a couple of shots didn't quite land. They see them scaling up with that owl drone, caught out by the dart as well. A couple of shots from this win from this Sova, and finally put to rest.
And they're discussing just how lethal that combination of that grav net and a nade can be, and it truly is better than the C's nade combination. Like, you cannot get out of the way like you can the same way with the C's, and because of that, yes, it does some economic damage, so it isn't perfect of a round like the 2 flawlesses we saw out of Eternal Focus. So because of that, the weapons aren't the best. You hand that rifle back over to your duelist, back to Alu, who's having a great start to this map, and you might even go for an offensive play because you understand better weapons are in the hands of Eternal Focus. But look at this, the players again for EF headed towards mid, and it's the Killjoy, the Lurker, all alone. The Aldro gonna clear out this corner, hopefully for Alu, but the timing isn't there, and there is the crunch eventually. Weapons relinquished, and now rotation hopefully over to A, where Sky, we talked about it, they need to be the players of this team, and look at the anchoring.
That was just a little bit too much for them, overwhelmed by the rest of the players coming on the site, but being able to walk away with at least one pick is good for them, and only one Sentinel to fight against. But these sonic sensors are placed in high traffic areas. If they move too fast, they're going to be concussed by it, and already Red capitalizing off of that back alone. But they were blinded for just a moment, but not a moment long enough. Stagger over the top, they peek up just for a second, and Elho is tearing them down. That is Eternal Focus with their first round on the board.
And again, once they get onto that site, once the deadlock utility is up, it becomes so difficult, especially out of the heaven choke point, because you can place unshootable sonic sensors that still get triggered. Like we saw, the wall, the tree sonic sensor both got nullified really, really quickly, and that's where they were trying to funnel out of. But the proactivity that you mentioned into heaven made it that the tree force was a lot weaker and didn't have the full support it needed to be successful. So first rifle round goes in favor of Eternal Focus. They get some better weapons. And now, you want to take that to B? Look at the Odin spray. Gonna learn your lesson for sure if you are this Sova. When gonna get finished off as well by the Sova follow-up, and this is gonna be a free B side unless Sky can say something about it.
What do you gotta say, Sky? He's yelling it at the top of your lungs.
Down B.
A little bit of a whisper, but not one that was not unheard at the very least. Justin working in tandem with the rest of the team, following through, getting past that deadlock wall. Now that Eternal Focus has the firepower in their hands, they're looking in fighting shape as always. Meanwhile,
Look at
lurking
Pig.
all the way up through mid is Lazy Pig. They're being very judicious about that, but here it is, that sonic sensor being a pain in the neck.
One enemy
Finally,
remaining.
the wall dissipates, but also finally, Lazy Pig didn't even need to do anything. The rest of the team is just that precise.
They look like us.
And that's what I love about this double sentinel composition, right? Is having the killjoy, you're not sacrificing that lurk player, and Red feels confident to be that double aggressor alongside Elro. We saw that over on Sunset as well, but the difference is that number one, Red was often in clutch situations because they were that primary lurker, and second as well, when Red did fall alongside Elro, that's when those rounds kind of slipped away for Eternal Focus. So again, this feels like a very catered anti-meta composition that is working into the unique style that Eternal Focus is playing. But we've seen promise from PXG, right? Most notably on that eco round, they were able to challenge the Killjoy, get rid of that lurk play before sight was taken. And that's the kind of thing we need to see them replicate.
Again, the win is feeling that they're always knocking on death's door or having one foot already inside of there. Loveler, Alu. They're not giving up, they're not stopping, they're not getting away. They finally dash off, but 5 HP is gonna make the rest of this round so much more tougher. But hey, Justin's gonna walk in and have some ideas of their own, but Annihilation is
Alu.
reeling them in on the other side of that. Alu can't do anything to save their teammate. Again, it's just 5 HP. They're gonna be walled off. There's a sonic sensor over on that. They try to get rid of it. Then someone's just gonna fire. And I think what's even worse, Sobi, they're stuck. Alu had to updraft to get over the wall, but the second they
Doesn't
do,
matter.
Red is gonna fire away. It's free and easy pickups. Well, maybe not so much. Maybe not so
Last
easy.
player standing.
Oh, and I mean, the fact that they only had Deagles makes this deadlock wall so more difficult. It makes it a lot harder for these thrifties to come true for the side of Predator X Gaming. Here we go. Sky, yeah. Get some nasty shots before, but that Deagle ain't gonna get the job done. The lead you had established by winning the pistol and the follow-up has been demolished as Eternal Focus step up to the plate and hit a third base.
This team is Predator X Gaming at the very least does have 3 ultimates to work with, right? I kind of feel like one of those moments where you need to be very smart against Eternal Focus on how you want to use them. And Stagger and Alu are both at that early aggressive positioning where they're going to play off of the one-way here. The kicker is, though, most of the team was over towards mid. Thankfully, Stagger... Oh, no. Oh, no. Caught inside the net. It didn't even take the rocket from Elro. A simple shock dart is all that was needed to get rid of them.
Oh my goodness.
The jet clip, beautiful, Alu,
down A.
precise and immaculate to take the fight against them and bring maximum value out of those knives. Lazy Pig is the last one standing yet again in a very similar position, having to go and grab that spike. But this time the extra wrinkle, 1v3 rather than 1v2.
Yeah, familiar story and likely a familiar outcome. Sky should have the timing and the angle here through tree. They still have the blades online as well after a huge performance from Alu.
What is this?
They might be able to wrap Heaven here. Oh no, they go back. The beating is gonna get exposed in Sky. Oh, you can't be
No
missing
way.
those shots. But 11 HP, this has got to
Surely.
be near impossible. And you saw Alu searching for that clip, but it looks like the finisher might just be the double swing when the blades, the helicopter, and the 4K to tie us back up 3 apiece.
I mean, you really do have to give it up here for that aggressive play from Predator X Gaming to get in the face of Eternal Focus, right? Play off that one way. Dagger, I was a little bit nervous about how they were wanting to go from that, and then getting caught inside the net, taken out by the shock dart. But Alu just, I don't know what happened. They may have had their Wheaties, they activated, they, I don't know, turned on the monitor maybe a little bit, but whatever happened there, it was... It was devastating for Eternal Focus. Now all that is left is to continue that streak going for themselves.
I like this. Starting to develop these set plays against Sky, against the Cypher, the scale up off the paint shell, just to disrupt that cross replacement of a player that might have been aggressive over towards B main, but what that doesn't catch again is the spike cam, and now I think they've realized that that aggression was all faltered, and so you see the redispersal of players back over towards the A side. Omen reclearing tree. It's gonna get the information of this owl drone, and that's when the Sova now go toward heaven. But in my mind, this is too late, right? That's when you execute protocol deadlock, and there's the wall. You have the smoke going towards heaven. We need to see Sova here from heaven go huge, and Wen's instead just gonna fall back and play for that post-plant utility and information to guide the rest of their team on this 5v5. And I'm nervous. Yes, you have a null command, but they also have a lockdown.
Yeah, they have a lockdown. Christopher is hanging out on top of the generator. Sky, they saw Raze right below them. Should you run those? Sky's gonna be over on the other side. But the second they move into it, again, Christopher's on top of that generator, and they have an overwatch over this entire site. Lockdown? Who needs a stinking lockdown when I'm doing things like this? He even got rid of the KO ultimate, completely stopping it in its tracks. Nothing that could have been done there any better by Eternal Focus.
And yeah, I mean, they had that pinned the timing perfectly right. As soon as lockdown gets, or the null command gets popped, that's they're doing the lockdown in conjunction, just to neutralize each other. And I mentioned Christopher, right, in the agent select. I was like, I didn't feel the comfortability, the click of the agent kit from that breach pick, but I'm feeling it now with the Omen, like you mentioned, that amazing shrouded step, the elevated position, and the 3K to follow, all beautiful here. Speaking of beautiful though, encounters. Talked about it, this kind of setup, this use of the Raze over towards B main. This time is not a fake either. And I think the Sova spotted out the two players over towards A main. So what do? You accelerate into the site, understanding this is a save route as well. You get the Sky sound cue that there's somebody stairs, and although Elro is gonna fall, there's a trade. So this is B site under their control, and this is when again just comes through.
Spike planted.
Look at how much you have to fight, and B main. You hear the shots being fired.
Ooh.
That's brilliant from Alu, though. But again, it's all about keeping that momentum forward, not stomping, playing together as that team. You gotta get rid of Elho, though. You know that they have this, and that is exactly what Justin is seeing here. They're playing off of that, but he gets over, he tugs away somehow, and is still able to land a kill. A 1v1 for this round. Lazy Pig versus Justin. The smoke dissipates. Justin's on the other side of that wall. Lazy Pig is playing from the stairs. They have a perfect eyesight of the spike. It's gonna be Justin pinging it, but not able to win against Lazy Pig. Brilliant plays here from them to hold on to the site. The lead continuing further for Eternal Focus, 5-3.
And I don't know if that smoke, right, came out from Justin or Christopher, but gave just that extra time for Lazy Pig to confirm their rotation over towards stairs. And clearly it was unexpected from Justin in that situation. So beautifully played, and they finally get their clutch on the bingo card after so many tries. And what we kind of saw a glimmer of there is another win condition for the side of PXG, right? Is to find and punish the overaggression from Red, right? We know they're kill hungry in one of the best ways, and if you shut them down, then you don't have to worry about those sonic sensors anymore. Even though the wall is still an issue, it makes it a lot more mainstream, streamlined, and that gives them a lot more time to navigate the situation. And unfortunately, just a 1v1 clutch sometimes goes south. But this round, again, the default, the A split setup, and again the challenge, again this KO Jet combo is lethal.
And Alu just had to have known off the back of that KO knife that these two players were still going to stay up there. And because of that, playing from the flashbang, lands two crispy headshots. It's cracked open Eternal Focus. Getting rid of that tripwire leads some credence towards them going into mid. Win is going to hold this lane down with that Ode, but they got to be quick about it because they're going to be seen by the recon vault in just a second. Fire through with the Odin, but it's still Sky landing that headshot. It's a back and forth on this site so far, but Win is now playing inside a boathouse. I got a little scared about that one. Hello gets rid of them, but it's a 1v3. Paranoia barely dodges them. They're not going to be missing anything from there. They do get inside of this before Alu finishes them off. Predator X Gaming, another round on the board.
I was nervous there. I thought Elo had a chance to get that under their wing. I mean, if they had more bullets in the chamber, I mean, they evade the Paranoia. They get immense chip damage off of Stagger, but again, the three remaining players just careful, not wanting to lose any other weapons because their economy is still on the fritz here. Both sides able to get a buy. And this round is going to get a little chaotic. Probably a showstopper annihilation combo entry, but then we'll likely have the retake or a spike dial with Wen and that, you know, Hunter's Fury, some Neural Theft action to guide the retake, and Hallow's also one off from the Blade, so we might see another Jet moment here in the server, but for now, look at the proactivity from Alu over towards mid. They have Omen at their side. The only silver lining here is then you don't get to deny that A main aggression, but I think that 0 point might have seen some players.
Yeah, the 0 point may just be good enough to really stop them from going any further, or at the very least delay things out for long enough.
Right here.
Don't peek
I
mid.
was eventually going to do that, but you saw the idea in their head to use the owl drone. It could be a bait moment while the rest of the team is rotating over to regroup with Lazy Pig. Yeah, and a lot of noise is being made. Not even using the owl drone. They commit the wall instead.
No.
When that timing, they thought it was safe, but they don't even realize it's all a debate. It's all for naught because B is where this is all ending.
Yeah, you see Lazy Pig think to the solo lurk, and that's exactly what happened when the dart was originally destroyed. The owl doesn't see anything either, so you're so confident on their rotation, but that confidence dwindles. Now you've given up the B site, you've given up the plant, and given them their win con. And with Red taking out the flankers, Red being alive at the post plant, they're going to get the site, hopefully set up utility, and not even have to depend on that showstopper or that annihilation. And look at this, like I said, the economy was already on edge for the side of Predator X Gaming. And they have decided instead to play for exits, play for the save.
Oh, I thought it was about to be another timing moment. Yeah, Elros is running.
Remaining.
I can't believe
Red from
Red is
mid?
doing this. I know. Red got to mid so quickly. And Stagger, living up to their name, the last one to fall, staggering it out. But it is now a first half that is at the very least, for Eternal Focus, is 6-4. So 2 more rounds for them to gain and continue to gain a further lead on Predator X Gaming, but BXG still a chance to tie things up.
And what is scarier than a post plant with 2 sentinels? It is 2 sentinels on a defense-sided map on the defense. And that's exactly what we're going to see when the sides swap, the Killjoy and the Deadlock. And I'm curious to see if Red's going to maintain that same level of aggression or if they're going to play further back on site and punish off of their utility. I mean, I would love to see some, net raise action again to gain space, but we'll have to wait and see because we still got 2 rounds left. We still have an opportunity to tie things, too, for Predator X Gaming. They're getting antsy at that prospect. It's an eco round. They want that early round kind of advantage, but look at the thoroughness from Eternal Focus here. Out drone out, and not quite gonna spot Justin, but it still reclaims that B main space.
Looks like PXG may have been right to go
Red?
over towards A. Still Red. Oh, no way you're gonna do that. You catch them inside of the net because you know it's Alu. And then you're gonna try to force them back using a KO Molly, but they're still there. They still eating your jet alive. You're gonna try and flash them out, and you win in that engagement, but
They didn't get the Vandal. Now they have, okay.
yeah, they got the Vandal, so it's not the worst thing in the world, but while all of this is, inside a tree, the entire team was like making the call, go back to B. There's 3 here.
Yeah, the alarm bot and the turret deployment. But my concern here, as soon as they destroy that alarm bot, as soon as they destroy this turret, Elro can pop
Spike planted.
that Raze ult. And there it is, the door queue instead taken as an opportunity. And that was the Vandal, I think, unless it was handed off. Lazy Pig as well, a great anchor point over towards main. And suddenly, when the collide might just punch a hole into this round. The players spread out and have set up a crossfire. Or the flank is going to come through.
They get out of it just in time. They hurt behind them. They try to flick back and take on Christopher. But it's Christopher we're talking about here, and they're just built different. 7-4.
Round in the half.
Legs are starting to get a little shaky if you're PXG, but for Eternal Focus, you've seen your way through a good majority of these rounds on the attack now. And for a defense-sided map, this is a massive victory, even at 7-5.
Oh, for sure. And I mean, it's better than the 9-3, right? If they get the 7-5 that they experienced over on Sunset, but still,
Repel them.
like you mentioned, defense-sided map, you want to have more rounds than this. And you're running, right? That kind of default composition, it feels like, minus the Cypher over the Killjoy. And maybe that's been the issue as well. I feel like we've mentioned not only the double Sentinel makes it really hard to retake, but then you don't have that Killjoy lockdown in conjunction with an ult command. And they've been timing it really well on the side of Eternal Focus so that it hasn't harmed them. And Stagger also has been playing a purely support role, right, for Alu, so they're not getting those orbs mainstreamed to them for that retake. The other threat has been Lazy Pig as well. It's kind of a gamble if they hit or not, but when they hit hard. And here is that gamble, losing them money, losing them a frag, but it's still a distraction. It keeps the players over there, and here comes Protocol Deadlock. This time, it might get disrupted, though.
There we go. Sky finally able to capitalize off the back of that tripwire on the ground. And they're also going to see through the camera. They had to have seen the legs. They had to have Sky in the middle of a reload. I was worried for them that Christopher was going to get in through that just a little bit faster. This is immaculate from PXG. And something that we've been needing to see from them for quite some time. But a phenomenal first half, I would say, for this team on Ascent, especially considering what we saw on Sunset. At the end of the day, Eternal Focus is still in the lead. The 7-5 first half.
But all it takes is the pistol win here for PXG, and they are right back into the swing of things. And they won that first half pistol. So that was a lot better than the 2 they lost over on Sunset as well. Aside from that, though, trying to think. I like you mentioned, they finally kind of got ahead of that kind of A-site take. It was because of the immediate rotation, and it really was because they challenged Red ahead of that deadlock wall completely being solidified, ahead maybe of a missed timing as well from Christopher with that dark cover. Regardless, those small mistakes are going to get hopefully cleaned up as EF continues to take form. But speaking of taking form, look at this 3-stack, and even the Killjoy here over towards Tree. They look like they are going aggressive. They are out for blood, and they are out for this pistol.
Oh yeah, they're hungry. Sharks in the water right now, and they smell blood.
Oh,
The smoke is gonna stall them out for a second. Arrow doesn't care. They're still gonna walk out to it, but you're walking out into 3 players. It's not the worst thing in the world, a 3v2. So PXG has the advantage by 1. But for Eternal Focus, that was a bloody engagement in mid. Wait a minute. Lazy Pig. No way you're doing that. No way. 1 by themselves has just sent a shockwave. Wait a minute. Do they see it? Win Atlas carrying the world on their back.
And I don't know for sure who the IGL is for PXG, but I don't know why I'm getting its win. Not just because they're on the Info Initiator, but it just feels like they're always mirrored against the IGL LO on the side of Eternal Focus, right? And that is just the awareness as well, unrivaled, right? I don't know if they heard the sound cue cat. It's entirely possible, and that's why they pulled their gun out. But they both were even mirrored with how fast they went from knives to weapons to the fight, and when just reaction time up there with the F1 drivers. I swear, after how fast that bullet rained out. And like I said, you win that pistol, you're likely to tie things up here 7-7, unless we see an eco strategy out of left field or an early frag. They realize they've located the Vandal, and they are not gonna fight into that.
And Alu's also playing this smart, right? They're not super far forward. They're not playing away from the rest of the team. You cannot lose this Vandal if you're Alu, because giving it to any member of Eternal Focus right now feels like it's going to be a death sentence for this buy round of PXG. They're making a lot of noise inside of mid, but no one really there to be able to find anything on the back of that. The Aldrone is going to go in, and just enough of that information for Red. They heard it just at the final moment. They're going to be caught out by the 0-point knife, but backing away, and even more so, not able to see anything through that dark cover. Alu's finally going to make their play, but my goodness gracious, it's right there. That Vandal getting a little bit dicey. Hey, Lazy Pig almost got away with absolute murder, but the shots were just flying all around them. Spike is going to be planted. A 1v4 for Elho here. Just a classic to their name. I am not envying these odds.
And you mentioned Essence, and I thought running into the 4-stack on A would have been that, but the 0-point meant no deadlock utility to capitalize off of there. They get the free sight off the tailwind off of that hero Vandal, like you mentioned, for Alu. And there it is, as foreshadowed, 7-7 on the scoreboard here. And just like that, surprised we haven't seen a timeout, actually, right? We said it, Testy, a seasoned coach on the side of Eternal Focus, hasn't had anything to say just yet. Partially maybe because it's just getting into the half, but this is the first buy, and I mean, if they lose this, they lose the lead, they're gonna be reset. And there's some light shields as well, which is a cause for concern with that Vandal in Alu's hand. And also, surprisingly, I've seen Justin, or I should say I've seen a Ghost on some of these rounds do more damage.
Yeah, you can never discount the power of a Ghost. That's something that I've been learning very... it's been a very tough lesson for me, Zoe. That's all I gotta say. Right? I think I'm all confident with my little Spectre, especially in buy rounds, and someone has a Ghost and they just 2-tap me and I'm out of there. Still though, no 2-taps happening here. It's just gonna be 1 for red. Alu's been gone, and that's also the Vandal on top of it. But Dagger has an answer almost immediately in kind. The flip side though is they can't get to that Vandal easily. No, they do. No, they do. With where Alu died. So Stagger does pick up the Vandal, but Red knows that Justin is somewhere here in mid. They heard the Omen TP. The real question becomes now, is Justin going to be able to survive through this sandwich? They're going to be able to deal some damage against Elho. Have to have known. Yep, they saw it. They're going to take some fires. They're looking over in another direction, and there you have it. You're talking about the deadliness of that Ghost. It's going to be Justin.
Oh my goodness.
One there, but the rest of the team operating like a well-coordinated machine. This is Eternal Focus, not losing out the PXG bonus.
And you've heard of the Raze grab net combo, but have you heard of the Sonic Sensor Swarm Grenade? We need to make a name for that combo, but that would have been lethal as well. And that's the adaptation and the changes that we're seeing from Eternal Focus, right? Remember that back to that 4-stack over on A and how easily they got onto the A site? Well, what do? They capitalize, they generate a choke point on tree instead. And I'm not sure if that's really intentional, if it's more meant for the counter, which is when you're trying to close door and get the switch active, but it worked both ways, right? And that is so clean in this round. Not seeing the 0 point there means they're going to be lured into an A split where there's double Sentinel utility to punish off of.
Good lord. Imagine having to try to go through that. And you're talking about that Sonic Sensor Swarm Grenade combo?
Right here.
We'll call it the Sonic Swarm.
Yeah,
I think that's a good name. Yeah, that's a good temporary name anyways. But now they're just going to rush through that because they know that someone is going to be here to punish them. But it is Lazy Pig. They're not blinded by the flashbang. Lazy Pig is prepped and ready to go for anyone to try and push through on that site. But now with most of the Sentinel utility dealt with, just 1 Sonic Sensor left when you are trapped down and locked down with that net. It is a 2v2. They heard the net being taken off, so Elrose is going to take a chance, throw out the paint shell, but Wynn did get it off in the nick of time, but a spike still needs to be planted. It's not happening just yet. And look at that. They even throw down a satchel to make sure that Wynn's not able to do that. They're really determined about making that happen. They're just throwing off the aim enough, but now with Sky falling, it's a 1v2, and Wynn is by themselves. The rest of the team of EF is going to regroup with each other and take on this 1v2 together. Try to isolate the ones, but Elro is just a little bit faster on that end. EF, another round. Feels like another day in the office.
And I could feel the frustration with each jiggle peek from Wen, like, pick me, please! And they just never were. And that's when I really needed to see kind of what utility Sky had and what way Sky could help them, right? Cage across, maybe. You know, the open door to go help your teammate backside because the time is ticking away. And eventually, right, Red's gonna get that opportunity to frag onto you and make it that 2v1 that makes things 10 times harder to clutch out for your remaining teammate for Wen. And speaking of 10 times harder, your buy is shattered if you are PXG, and you also have to worry about that lockdown as a retake tool for the side of Eternal Focus. So what do you do? Go the unorthodox route here. The B split, mid-market, the alarm bot, all disrespected, but look at the one-way.
Kind of digging that. Watch them run. Okay, they looked at each other for a
It's
second
friendly.
there. Yeah. Hey, we're all teammates here. We're all friends here. But Justin's out in the open. There was really nowhere for them to be able to fight against Lazy Pig, and especially with some of that firepower. Good headshot though from Alu, almost able to connect on the second one. But again, Lazy Pig is that KJ who's been a menace to this team time and time again. When you're topping the leaderboard almost at 18-9. I mean, the Sentinels are putting in the work for EF here.
Sure. My question is, that was a Christopher from the Shadows, right? Why
Yes, it
didn't
was.
he stick it?
He was like, there's two in here. Yeah, no, I don't need to be here.
Yeah, they got Elevator, they got the IGL, they got the Odin backside, but it was still interesting. But regardless, double digits here, obviously, for the side of Eternal Focus on their map pick here, and they still haven't used that lockdown. They still now have the annihilation online. It's gonna make again retakes that much stronger. They haven't even really had to play the retake. Whoa! How are you
This-
alive?
Yeah, right, Elro. This is a treat we also don't get very often, right?
Whoa.
Oh, they missed the shot. And Stagger's able to throw it right back into their face. Alu has to keep going as far as they can, but Elho's Odin is spraying a little bit differently than mine would have. They get over towards backside, just enough HP. They try to fight against Stagger, even through the cage. Stagger ain't missing these. It was a headshot too, insult to injury. A 1v3. Christopher, by themselves. They do have a paranoia. They have one of their smokes online to go with as well. They don't want to play the hand too early. They want to try and isolate as many of these ones as they possibly can. But now, hand has been played, seen by the recon bolt, even if it never went off. Win, precise shots to give PXG a fighting chance.
And that shot from Stagger gives me PTSD to the 2K over on Sunset. We thought it was through the smoke on the B retake, and that also kept them in the game. So replicated success here. And I loved that post-plant look. We haven't really gotten to see that because it feels like a win con right now for Eternal Focus has been on denying a site take instead of playing that retake. I think that's why we saw the operator purchase, and that's why we've seen them kind of play off these one-ways and play these contact plays. When, like I mentioned before, they have some really good retake ultimates online. The lockdown, the annihilation. So I want to see them play, you know, a little less aggressive. And here we go. We finally get to see that. Maybe forced the null command, but also because we see that wall go up instead of having a player there peeked up. But speaking of peeked up, posted up the Odin! And Red and Elro, they're all together. The three Musketeers taking care of business on the B site.
Yeah, there's really nothing for them to worry about. Justin's gonna step into the shadows, but you're being fired through by an Odin. You're stuck in boathouse. There's a paint shell in front of you. Thankfully, you don't get smacked by it, but hey, recon bolt, dump all of the utility, try to fight them. You go back over on the other side. Lazy Pig is on stairs to get rid of you. A vengeance for the fallen Elro. But a small bump in the road here for Eternal Focus. They're right back in the game.
And it feels like these ultimates, I keep pointing them out, but they're just saving them for a grand finale, right? To close out this series and close out their debut in the Luxe series. This is the first week of the group stage in, you know, ceremonious fashion. But again, we're back to this kind of approach where it is the double Sentinel utility over towards A. They're expecting another A split because it has been now, I think 2 or 3 rounds in a row that they've gone towards the B site. So again, just the reads, the calling from the IGL here have been so on point. And they're starting to learn about as well some of the Sova setups from when and counter that information. Make it seem like there's players when there really aren't here, when previously there was no information, no breakage. So they knew they could punish off of that space.
Yeah, wall goes up after they got just a smidge more. If you're Justin, you know, you go over that, you could TP from that, but smarter player than me, absolutely for sure, instead just getting out of there. And this is a look that we haven't seen very often from PXG. You have Sky separated from the rest of the team, doing their due diligence as a Sentinel to get in their face. You kind of have to if you're this Cypher who's running with a Spectre light shield. You can't be too crazy though with your lurk. You don't have the range, you don't have the health to be able to survive through it. Here is going to be that 0-point knife. Elro kind of has to commit to this, either that or get in through lane and get out of there. But the Hunter is furious and the Hunter is looking to take someone down, but perfect dodge by PXG is going to prevent that from happening. But you go right through the smoke. They just don't care. It's lambs to the slaughter. When caught inside of the annihilation, Justin blinded. They can't see anything. And Alu, in an attempt to get out of there, is going to be sprayed down. Elro saw it all in 4K, picturesque, perfect. Justin, I really do feel for you, buddy, because at this moment, it feels like being bullied. But because Elho didn't get the kill there, TP over to the other side, you're running out of time. Save the weapon, buddy. Just get out. No charges. They are going to be able to do that, it looks like. Yes, indeed.
Yeah, map though, and a series point will follow the save for Justin. Don't repeat that. Why are you repeating that?
You're giving me a heart attack here, buddy. Oh my god.
But I don't understand why they just dry swing out of the smoke. Like, yes, grain of salt there. I understand you just lost your KO, so you're not gonna be able to pop flash out, but you have an Omen alive, you have your Jet, you have your Cypher, you have options, you have a Cage, you have a Paranoia. And like we said, that was kind of their grandstand moment, right? That was their last true to life buy if this round goes EF's way. Now what do they have? They have the Vandal full shield, yes, that Justin was able to save, but after that it's full Spectres and a Stinger. And you know, it's spotlit with light shields as well. So I'm worried, especially when they've abandoned their hopes of Lurk player for Sky. They've abandoned the the A split attempt, and they are now going to run into the microwave setup that is A. It is this deadlock killjoy, and this is not how I want to see Ascent end.
Okay, they actually do manage to get on there.
Lockdown
and
retake.
take the snipe. You play for the lockdown retake, exactly. If you're Eternal Focus, you have so many
There
of
it
these
is.
options on board, and there's
Wait,
really
Hunter's
nothing
Fury.
either. Hunter's Fury needs to get rid of it. Wynn's gonna throw it out. They're trying to get rid of it. Justin holding on to it, but a double kill from the showstopper may have just ended everything for PXG. It has to be inside of tree. Alu with a
Needs to
Vandal in
red.
hand. Everything looking towards them, but down in hell, a
One
1v1. Elro has the operator.
classic.
They're switching over to the classic because they are just that sure of themselves. But Sky only has 19 HP, Zobi. They fire through the cage. Elro goes for the defuse. They know that the Cypher is in there. They run right over on a 4K. The final nail in the coffin. Send them packing. Eternal Focus. Eternally winning. 13-8 on Ascent 2-0 in the series.
I mean, when they win the pistols, when they lose the pistols, EF is still able to trudge ahead and able to close out this series 2-0. And you know, I'm an unbiased caster, of course, but we can still make our predictions, we can still make our analysis. And I was calling, I'm like, I don't know why. I feel like EF is going to come in and be the victors in this series. And I think part of that is, like I said, they had a trial by fire in their summertime Slugfest debut because they were up against some of the titans, I would say, of the MFH series. They were up against Adder's Kittens, What's a Pretzel, teams that have consistently been playing and growing and are in that later stage of tier 3 development that EF has yet to enter, versus, you know, the side of PXG when they were playing in Fun Haver. It was against kind of a similar tier 3 organizations that, yes, had some fraggers behind it, but they weren't as far on that journey. So EF, again, I mean, they feel like they have the whole package right now, from the support system to the way they closed out this series. I mean, you can see even from the scoreboard, like, it was a true team effort through and through to get this victory. Like, I mean, Laserpick stepped up hugely. Like I mentioned before, there were some role swaps, but this seems like their true form.
No, absolutely. But everything here, for me, with Predator X Gaming, remember, right? We got to talk about them a little bit. They didn't have that coach. They are operating not at peak efficiency right now, but we were still able to get this performance out of them. Sunset, little dicey, right? Even considering that was their own map pick, but Ascent was a much better look out of this team. Week 1, Zobi, week 1 in the group stage of the Luxe series. So there's still a lot of time for this team to refine, to improve, to look back, and to continue throughout those scrims to get better and better and build those foundations for themselves to hopefully go towards the success that they are looking for. When you go up against a team like Eternal Focus, like you said, forged through the fire and flames of some of the titans of tier 3, this is a
No
good
pun intended.
look. No pun intended. This is looking good for PSG, and I'm excited to see what they're going to be able to do throughout the season. Still an Eternal Focus win, and I think overall, for what we've gotten out of the broadcast for the first night of for the first week of the Luxe series, this is proving and shaping up to be a phenomenal season so far, Zobi.
Oh, for sure. I didn't really know what I was expecting because, like I said, these were the teams that when we cast MFH, right, saying we don't get the opportunity to see because we are just kind of covering those top teams that make it to the deep playoffs. We don't get to see the teams that get grouped. We don't get to see the teams that are now in the consolation bracket with the new format. And I'm excited because I do think that, like, this is where you get your start. You have to build experience somewhere. You can't expect to be like Ion, right? You know, 15, 16 years old and coming and swinging without much effort. And that's what I'm hoping to see out of these teams, is that growth during the Luxe series. Like, yes, you had a loss today if you're PXG, if you're Predator Gaming, but you can come back. Like, this is just your starting point. And like I mentioned before, they aren't even a full, like, backed roster yet, right? They're still searching for that fifth man. They had a substitute player today, and they don't even have a coach. So this is where they're starting from. I think they have a promising run if they can get that support to back them now and that support structure in place moving forward.
I think they do too, but you know, I'm excited to see where all of these teams are eventually going to be ending up in the group stage. But I think for now, Zobi, that's going to be it for us here on Luxe Series for week number 1. But make sure you hit that follow button, right? Because we're going to be having more broadcasts, more of these games going on next Monday. So you do not want to miss that. These are some of the most intense games that you can get out of Tier 3, and something that I'm going to be looking forward to every week personally myself. From all of us here at Luxe Series, A big thank you to Icefire Cast in the background for such a phenomenal production that they were able to put on. Sophie, a big shout out to you as well for being a top tier co-caster.
Claps to you as well.
Claps, claps, claps. Thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see all of you on the next broadcast.